Shelly Glover is the Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Finance. She joins me here at the Conservative Convention here in Ottawa. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. How are you today, Stephen?
Fantastic. So I guess we should talk about the budget.
I'd love to talk about the budget.
That's in your bailiwick. So, okay, there are two main things that are different from the previous budget, which was, of course, just a few months ago. And that is HST compensation for Quebec,
right,
and the end of political party subsidies with respect to $2 per vote. So the HST, $2.2 billion in compensation for Quebec to harmonize their tax. Quebec's done this in the past, and it's sort of nebulous as to what this 2.2 is for, at least to me. Can you help us figure that out?
Well, the fact remains that negotiations are ongoing with the province of Quebec. The government of Quebec and of course our government are working very closely together to come to an agreement. We believe that we will be able to come up with an agreement as stated in the budget by September 15th. And really it's all about harmonizing in a fair and consistent manner. Things like the administration of the taxes come into play. It's a very complex issue, HST, and so it would take several hours, frankly, to go into every detail. And that's why negotiations have to continue with both governments at the table. They're going very well, and as I say, we expect to have an agreement by September 15th, and then we will proceed forward on other measures.
Now, why was this doesn't seem to be an issue that has just suddenly come up. Why this budget instead of the previous budget?
No, this issue has come up before.
Okay.
This is an issue that, frankly, I've only been here for a couple of years, but I'd heard about the HST across the country, even before becoming involved in politics. This is solely a decision made by provincial governments, but the Government of Canada has agreed to go into negotiations with those provinces who choose to go towards an HST or a harmonized sales tax. So it's not new at all, but it is time to get on with it. It's time to move forward on this issue. And as I say, this is a province that wants to see harmonization, and we're happy to meet with them to make that happen.
Now, I know that you are part of the Law and Order Caucus. Let's just say I know that you are a current police officer.
I am. I believe I'm the only current police officer.
Yeah, so can you give us some hints? I know that the omnibus, you're going to do some sort of omnibus crime legislation coming up. Can you give us some sort of hint as to what sort of legislation we can expect to see, maybe some that we haven't been talking about in the media and in the national discussion?
Sure. Well, we had a number of measures that we put forward during the last session of Parliament, and I'll touch on one that was very important to me. That was Sebastian's Law. That dealt with young offenders who were repeat offenders. The Youth Criminal Justice Act, frankly, is the worst piece of legislation I ever saw as a police officer, and frankly, I was asked to teach other police officers what steps needed to be taken under the Youth Criminal Justice Act, and it was a very difficult act to teach. Every day I had to start by saying, don't shoot the messenger, because overwhelmingly police officers could not believe that the Liberal government brought forward an act that actually put our youth at risk. With that act, they removed deterrence, they removed denunciation, which frankly led to many of our adult criminals exploiting our youths. But the Sebastian's Law will allow us to do a number of things to focus on these repeat young offenders, including the right to actually print their names in the public so that the protection of society is taken into consideration, which to me is an absolute priority. We've forgotten that the protection of society is important. It can't be all about criminals' rights. It's got to be also about victims' rights. So that's one of the pieces to the omnibus bill. The other things that are important, as far as I'm concerned, in the omnibus bill, things like ending house arrest for some serious crimes. Things like addressing child pornography. That is essential. I spent 4.5 years in the child abuse unit and investigated many, many sexual offenses against young people. And to have offenses that aren't dealt with in a way where the perpetrator actually understands that they've done something wrong, I mean, that's absolutely essential. House arrest is something that should not be given where there is any kind of a personal injury, and so we're going to bring that forward. There are a number of measures I think that Canadians are in agreement with us on, and those are just a few that will go into the omnibus bill. but there's more to come.
Okay, now back to the budget. I know we're jumping back and forth here, but on the budget, on political party financing, $2 per vote phased out over the next few years.
Yes.
Okay, but there's also a few other items, such as these huge tax breaks for political parties. They would seem to be even more generous than some charities are being able to get. Is there any motivation for reform on those sorts of issues, or even perhaps just to eliminate that sort of advantage for political parties over charities?
It's interesting you bring up charities because we have an MP who actually put a motion forward in the last session, Peter Braid. It was an absolutely fantastic motion to suggest to government that we study the way that charities are able to be viable, the way that they are able to collect donations, to make it fair, to make it consistent. And so I support that motion 100%. I am looking forward to actually dealing with that again during this session. And in the budget, we actually address some of the things about charities that we need to revisit. Political parties, yes, there are some tax benefits for donating to political parties, and that's why I'm a big believer in doing away with the forced donations by taxpayers, which is the political party subsidies, frankly. Those are forced donations by Canadian taxpayers who don't necessarily agree with one political party or the other political party's views. So
now I have a question about forced limitation of donations. The cap. The Liberal Party, they're in quite a bind right now, and actually a lot of them are saying, well, if you're going to do away with the $2 subsidy, get rid of the cap, or at least modify the cap to say something like $5,000. Is there any interest in the Conservative Party for such a move?
Well, that, frankly, is not something that I would support.
Okay.
I believe that it is a fair amount. Right now it's $1,100, and that allows people across the board, average income, some lower income people, if they want to donate, they're absolutely able to reach that maximum. And I believe in having equal say, and so to raise it to a level that might not be attainable or be much more difficult to attain equally across the board, I don't believe that's the way to go. I believe that what's been done by eliminating corporations and unions from donating is imperative. I think the people ought to speak, the people ought to donate and show their faith in the parties that they believe in. And so we'll see what happens in this session as to whether or not we address that further.
Great. Well, Ms. Glover, thank you very much.
You're welcome. And thanks for everything you do too, Stephen. Your blog is wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.